is okay today and had a good and decent day. God, this has been a long, long day. My day started yesterday because I have not been to bed yet. I'm trying to stay up because I want to try to get a normal sleep schedule tonight. And if I fall asleep anytime during the day, it's going to mess it up. I have not been right since getting back, so there's that. So two things for housekeeping sake, I guess you could call it. When the channel hits 20,000, which we're rapidly approaching, so again, if you find yourself coming here often, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support the content through Patreon or PayPal. Yeah, we're rapidly growing to nearly 20,000 family, all of us. So there's that. There's going to be a state of the show address around that time because I want to bring up to date on some of the things that have been taking place behind the scenes with the show. Areas that we're expanding into that, that I think is going to be fun. And it's somewhat of a split, but it's not really a split. But I'll leave it for the show because there's a few things. There's backgrounds, graphics, the works. It looks awesome. The other thing is a fundraiser. So the show is doing a fundraiser. Now, when I play chess on this channel, I'm usually derided when I'm losing. Like, when I'm winning, there's faint praise and faint, clap of the hands. But when the progressive soapbox is getting his ass kicked, we have a lot of chatter. A lot of chatter. So, I'm giving the opportunity for those people that believe that they can take me down and win against me. I mean, seeing my game, that they say, okay, I think I can take that guy down. I'm giving you an opportunity for a good cause. $5, 2 games, 2 out of 3. And it will be a video that will be on the channel itself, and it will build as the progressive soapbox takes on the world. Which in this case versus this particular person who's going to take a beating in front of X number of people who are watching this. I personally think this should be amazing fun. There's going to be a board of shame. That's going to either look good for me, or board of shame for me, or board of shame for you, but it's going to be a board of shame for somebody. So there's that. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. So if you're interested, please take me up on it. I started a channel on Twitch, but the more I think about it, there's nothing stopping me from just doing it here. I mean, the faculty exists here. So now that that's said, all the housekeeping is out of the way. Ocasio-Cortez. So Ocasio-Cortez has found herself in a bit of trouble. Basically, it's a scandal that's not a scandal. I'll say it that way. I'm going to go out on a limb and say a scandal that's not a scandal. What it boils down to is this. The National Policy Legal Center, Legal and Policy Center, filed a policy complaint, with the FEC. Now, their complaint was that there was some kind of shady dealings going on with the way that the campaign was shuffling money around. And, excuse me, in the way that the campaign was shuffling money around. If there's an issue here, the issue here is with the election law that allows what her campaign was doing. And at worst, there's a bit of hypocrisy in the sense of this kind of dark money within the campaign. But there's no there here. Even in the articles itself that talk about this, it's hard to make a case that there's a there here. Ultimately, this is a fishing expedition. And like I said, secondary to put a finger at what may be considered hypocritical. So, let's see. All right, so this gentleman in the background, that is her chief of staff, Shakarb. I have a hard time pronouncing his name. Sakat Chakbarati. Chakbarati. Let's just call him Sakat. Sakat is her chief of staff. He's also founder of Justice Democrats PAC and Brand New Congress PAC, both of which are 2 corporations. Now, being that he's the founder of those 2 corporations, he also ended up selling services to those corporations or buying services from those corporations, meaning he shuffled $885,000 to those campaigns. He bought their strategic consulting service. It just so happens that he was the person that started those services himself. They're making a charge that there's something nefarious here. What would be the difference if they bought this from some other company for strategic services? Ultimately, Justice Democrats PAC and the other PAC were two companies. This does look like dark money. I mean, right? That's somewhat of the definition of this. Here's a bunch of money into strategic affairs, and those strategic affairs are dark from the standpoint of the public seeing what they're doing. So any money that is shuffled in those services, who knows what they're being used for? The problem here is, but there are services that were bought and rendered. And even though this looks kind of bad from the standpoint of his, he started the company and simultaneously is running her campaign, this is perfectly legal as far as I understand it. Take a look at this. In fact, they even note this themselves at a certain point. So, right here. Fox News reports that the FEC complaint alleges AOC Chief of Staff Sakat Shikabrati funneled nearly $1 million in campaign contributions from political action committees Shikabrati established to private companies that he also controlled. Well, it's not really funneled. You're purchasing a service. It's like if, I go to McDonald's and I purchase a hamburger, I'm not funneling money to McDonald's. I'm paying for the hamburger. That's kind of the point I'm getting at. It's not funneling money. It's the way they're framing this that's a bit weird and is being misconstrued. Even though that's their theory of the case. They're trying to say that he's too close to this because he started these companies. He somehow, just trying to find a way to hide the operations of the campaign. I understand the point. But if, again, this is an issue with the campaign system itself, not necessarily this issue. The Justice PAC and the alleges they transfer right. Okay, right here. And then allegedly transferred more than $885,000 in contributions to those PACs to his companies, Brand New Campaign LLC, and Brand New Congress LLC for strategic consulting. I think that's supposed to be Justice Democrats PAC. That's a typo. According to the Washington Examiner, the complaint was filed by the Conservative National Legal and Policy Center, a government watchdog. Now, here's, this is the tip of the hat. Fox News notes that the large transfers from PACs to LLCs are not necessarily a violation of Federal Election Campaign Act of 1971, but the complaint seeks details on Ocasio-Cortez's campaign expenses. It's a fishing expedition. This is what it is, a fishing expedition. The NLPC admits that the funds were likely used for campaign events, but wants the FEC to confirm that there was no wrongdoings with an immediate investigation. It is a fishing expedition. They admit themselves. Look, we don't know that any wrongdoing took place, and these were probably used for services, used for campaign events. Yes, it's like paying for any other service. It just so happens that he owns the company. Or at the very least, he initiated the company. I looked at a few of these because I was looking for comment from Ocasio's campaign on this. So, right here. All right. The arrangement first reported by the conservative outlet left hidden who ultimately profited from the payments, a sharp juxtaposition with Ocasio-Cortez calls for transparency in politics. She's called for dark money, the enemy to democracy. The money that flowed to her chief of staff's corporation have subjected the first-term congresswoman to critics, charges of hypocrisy. Well, yeah, I suspect that this is the main aim of this, hypocrisy. Not necessarily because they can get her on anything. If they get her on anything, that's just a bonus. I'm just saying politics is brutal, and she's put herself out as a front runner. On Monday, a conservative group filed a complaint with the Federal Elections Commission alleging that the PACs failed to properly disclose their spending. David Mitrani, attorney for the PACs and an LLC and Ocasio-Cortez's campaign, said in a statement Tuesday that all the entities fully comply with the law and the highest ethical standards. He said that Shikabrati never received any salary or profit from the corporations, the PACs, or the campaign. There is no violation of campaign finance laws, Ocasio-Cortez told Fox News on Tuesday. It is unclear whether she had knowledge of the payments to the Shikabrati's corporations. Limited liability to corporations, which in some states are not required to disclose the details of their owners or the spending, have played an increasing role in the politics in recent years. Critics say that such entities allow both donors and vendors to mask their activities, making it difficult for the public to trace who is giving to the campaigns and profiting from them. I hate it when they do that, and I know that's a minor thing, and this is somewhat of a detour, but critics say that such entities both allow both donors and vendors to mask their activities. Why do you have to say critics say? That's exactly what it does. In fact, the complaint right here that they're talking about in this particular article is that he's masking his money. He started a company, and in starting these two companies, he's also running her campaign, and he's giving the companies money, so he doesn't necessarily have to account for where the money is going or what the money is doing. That's exactly what they're complaining about. Why do you have to say critics say? Is it just somewhat of an absolute that that's true? If you don't know where the money is going, you don't know what the money is being used for, then by definition the money is dark. It's like, take a side. There is an objective world out there, and there are things that you can just say, yeah, this is objectively true, as opposed to other things that may be somewhat more subjective and gray. Just call true things true. Just saying. Brand New Congress LLC, initially called Brand New Campaign LLC, was formed by Shabrati to serve as a campaign in a box, one-stop vending for communications, field organizing, online organizing, fundraising, and the like, Mitrani said in a statement. Essentially, look, they pay for campaign services. It just so happened that the services they paid for were from companies started by her campaign manager. Yes, that sounds bad. Don't get me wrong. And it's not that I love this. And like I said, it is somewhat of a hypocrisy here in trying to say that, campaign finance laws and trying to get money out of politics and trying to get dark money, particularly out of politics. By the same token, she's playing by the rules of this particular system that allows her to do such a thing. And while it looks bad, because it looks like it's somewhat, come on, let's be honest, that's somewhat sketchy. In general, you start a company, it looks like you're hiding where the money comes from. The problem here is that this is allowed under our campaign system. The problem here is the system itself, not necessarily the people who take advantage of the rules of that system. Ocasio-Cortez is running in these races just like anybody else. So, it's completely corrupt. New York, Casey. Like I said, it does look bad. Another TYT related shell game. Shell game. It does look bad. How many times have I said Justice Democrats is a shell game? Even if they aren't guilty of outright violation, it demonstrates that they move money around using these PACs. Do DNC supporters want to get their dollars? Like I said, it sounds really bad. I mean, come on. You're running her campaign. I am Ocasio-Cortez's campaign manager. And by the way, I don't think there's anything here. I think ultimately this is much to do about nothing. The issue here is, again, the campaign system that allows it, not necessarily any individual actor in the system. I mean, ultimately, this is likely allowed. They're fishing to try to get something on it and also trying to point to this with a show of hypocrisy. If you look at all the newspapers that ran the story, many of the papers, all throughout the web, there are like tons of stories and articles on this very particular story. They made their point. It's like the first object was accomplished. Draw attention to the hypocrisy and, a stinging indictment of hypocrisy in this case. But the second one is somewhat of a Hail Mary. Is there anything there that we can pin on her? And either way, it's still somewhat of a beat your wife thing because people talk about it as a scandal. People don't necessarily always get to the meat of a story. They just kind of get to the titles. But yeah, this looks bad. This looks really bad, right? I mean, ultimately, a guy starts Justice Democrat PAC and Brand New Congress PAC. And in starting these PACs, he's also the campaign manager of Ocasio-Cortez. And sometime during the campaign, he takes the money of the PAC and he says, I'm giving this to these companies for strategic affairs. Whatever that means. But for some particular action. Do the people in those companies know what he wants from the standpoint of her campaign. Meaning, if he had any imprint itself on the companies, do they know already? Are they already in sync with what they're getting from her? And not just are they in sync with her, the fact that it's a company that you're paying, by the same token, there's your presence or some aspect of you that has to be left as an imprint on those companies. It just looks bad. I mean, ultimately, you're giving money to strategic affairs hides anything that is taking place with the standpoint of that money. Let's say something takes place within the context of the campaign, they may have to report what's taking place, meaning they may have to account for how the money is spent. Well, I'm spending money just on strategic affairs, and I'm spending $1 million on strategic affairs. What does that mean? Who knows? Who knows? I have no idea. And that's kind of the issue. That's the thing that they're pointing at. But again, that's not necessarily illegal. Just because it's unethical doesn't necessarily make it illegal. And whether Ocasio-Cortez knew about it is almost irrelevant to this. They pulled her in on this because it's her campaign, but they want to give her a bloody nose. So that's my thought on it. I could be wrong, but that's how I see it. They can't account for itemized expenditures either. My guess, there was misspending and misappropriation. How bad is it remains to be seen. Well, Garden, that's kind of the point, right? By funneling it into the company itself or by paying for strategic services, you can essentially hide the expenditures. Like that company doesn't have to account for how it uses the money. Her campaign would have to account for how it uses the money. That's $1 million that is being used for, whatever the company deems fit to use it for. I think the issue here is if you send it to another company, the issue is it just hides what they do, what the company is doing. I mean, ultimately, they're paying for a service, so you can talk to the company at that point. I mean, it's a employer-employee relationship, even though both are owned by the same people in this regard. But yeah, it does look like it hides the money. I have no idea what strategic affairs mean. I have no idea. No idea. Dodgy as fuck. Thought AOC wasn't completely funded. Well, they were paying for a service. I mean, they would make the argument that we paid for a service. Say for the moment that it wasn't his company. Say it was Bob Barker's chicken farm. And they needed to get chicken for some ridiculous, whatever. They would be paying for a service. And they would be paying for a service out of the campaign contributions. And there would be an itemized deduction saying, Bob's chicken farm delivering chicken for whatever. This is no different with the exception of the person who's in charge of the companies. It just looks like they're shoveling money to hide what they're doing. Yeah. Jamarl Thomas, you should know better than this is a lie. What's a lie? What's a lie? I said it looks dodgy as all hell. Yeah, I said it looks dodgy. I don't know what else to say about it. All right. Yeah. The most common tactic to launder money is to list it as a consultation fee. $41,000 is really high. Yeah. I mean, you're right. Consulting services in this format is money laundering and money and moving money around most of the time. I wouldn't be surprised if this is partly it, the real legend. So this is the schmear, or does it have merit? So a little bit of both, but not so much. Like, from the standpoint of Ocasio-Cortez, she's pushing hard to get, campaign finance laws. And part of that has been an outright attack on the way money is used in Congress and the way money buys Congress. You've seen her video where she goes through this thing of saying, this hypothetical situation of what is allowed in campaign finance laws. So it looks, it just looks bad. When you look at this, like, oh, that looks a little off. It looks like you're hiding money. It looks like you're hiding money. Now, that said, the question, and the only question that really matters is it legal? And the answer seems like yes, it is completely legal, even though it looks unethical. Just saying. He has two companies. Do those companies know his vision of things? Well, there's companies. With any company that you get, I would imagine there would be some level of back and forth between what you're doing, and I guess any company could take a consultation fee or services. Um, yeah. It looks bad. It just looks bad. It just looks bad. But this is somebody trying to stick a knife in her. This is literally what it is. Al nervous. Al, it's a little bit of both, right? So what's taking place here is legal, or it sounds like it's legal, meaning there's no legs to it. Um, they're trying to go fishing. They're trying to find something on this, even though they admit themselves that this may not be illegal because it probably is not illegal. On the other hand, though, from the standpoint of Ocasio trying to get money out of politics, it looks bad. It makes her look like a hypocrite, or it makes her campaign look like a hypocrite, because it looks like money is being stuffed into a company and just kind of hidden, or for services and operations. It's like if the money was used within the context of the campaign, they would have to itemize what the campaign is doing. In this case, here's $1 million from a company started by the person who's running her campaign, and it vanishes. It's dark money. That's their argument. That argument has legs. That argument does have legs. But nevertheless, it's not illegal. So yeah, it's a smear from the standpoint of this looks a bit hypocritical. But from the other standpoint of whether it's legal or not, it's perfectly legal. There's no there to this. There's no there to this. Idiots are the real threats to the society that believe in any politician. Believe in is too strong. Believe in is too strong. They're human beings. They're people. I don't see them as anything else but that. They have needs. They have things that they want. They have things that they aspire to. They have people who care about them. They have people who love them. They have people who hate them. They're, political enemies. There are things that they hate to do when they get up in the morning. It's a life. And they're being pushed by political incentives or by incentives of the situation to which they find themselves. So I have no expectation with them to be anything other than that. That can be infuriating. Don't misunderstand me. But that's my only expectation. Believing is too strong. We go from she's driving a car to stealing it. Okay, what? We go from she's driving a car to stealing. What are you talking about? Who's stealing what? She didn't steal anything. I don't understand that one. She didn't steal anything. FEC filing only states consulting services, so who knows? But 30,000 here and 100,000 there, and 30,000 same service is shady. Well, they said it was what, $885,000 total. So, Anna Kasparian is fucking better than you, much better than you. Thanks, Skip. Thanks. That warms my heart. That warms my heart. Oh God. I love this. Unlike Trump derangement syndrome retards, I'll wait to see what happens with Comrade Cortez. Comrade Cortez. Well, we all know Justice Democrats is bullshit. Comrade Cortez. What the hell? Oh God. Comrade Cortez. It's fucking hilarious. Anna 2020, she looks good. Oh God. You guys are being sexist. What is this? Choctaw Warrior. Well, at least she got teeth fixed with the money. Oh. I don't think there's a there here. I mean, don't get me wrong. I might be given the benefit of the doubt. Fair enough. Everybody has their biases in this case. But our campaign finance laws are horrible. But we already knew they were horrible. So in this case, she or her campaign uses those campaign laws for some advantage. yeah, like I said, it looks bad, but it's not illegal per se. Yeah, this sounds like a nothing burger. Get rid of the shady side. Oh, the shady aide. Problem solved. Isn't reflection of AOC. Yeah. The real legend. That's absolutely right. Absolutely right. I feel the same way. The catch is, media there's a bias in media to get to the story first, and not just get to the story first, to be able to draw eyes to the story. If somebody would have said by putting Ocasio in this, it's her aide, and so the story goes on to the forefront. Ocasio-Cortez's aide, the Ocasio-Cortez in and of itself is the hook to the story itself, and then you read the story and you're like, well, wait a minute, this was the aide. But it doesn't matter if it was the aide. It was her campaign, and ultimately all of the stories are going to reflect it from the perspective of her, not so much the aide. I mean, all of these stories, her name is in all of the titles. Ocasio-Cortez's aide, it just rolls off the tongue. It's exactly what took place. But you have to read a little bit down into the story to realize there's no there there. There's no there there. It's like, fix our campaign laws. Like, they're horrendous. I get their point. They're saying, hey, you're being a hypocrite. You're pointing a finger at all of these other people taking money in campaigns and all this other stuff, but you guys are trying to hide money. Fair enough, I get that. But again, it's not against the law. There's no there there. There's no there there. Well, he was campaign staff. He was her head of her campaign staff, as far as I understand it. Chief of staff, yeah. Chief of staff, Sakat Shikrati. Also, I guess there's a question on how much did they raise for the campaign in its entirety? Like, is that $1 million? What percentage of their campaign funding was $1 million? If 20% of the money went into a political campaign, then that's a lot of money within the context of the campaign. It's what, 1/4 of the campaign spending goes into this particular political PAC, and the question becomes, what is that PAC doing with 1/4 of the campaign spending? If this is 1/20th, like, there are questions around it, but either way, it looks weird. That's all. I asked the question though: what if it wasn't his campaign? Like, what is our issue with this? I guess our issue with this is he started the two corporations, right? And the campaign would have to itemize it, yes. We don't really care that it's his company. If it's anybody's company getting that much money, and again, it depends on the percentage of what that is. Yeah, I guess there are questions around it, but, yeah. All right, I'm going to end this. I have a few more that I need to do tonight. My signal still being a little weird. There's something here. It should be considered and not dismissed. Fair enough. I mean, I guess the question, Garden, is whether it's something illegal as opposed to whether it's something just unethical. There's something else about the story that it's not, for whatever reason, surfacing. It's like on the tip of my tongue, but it's not there. It's not coming out. He funnels money. He said the highest ethical standards. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm curious to know how much did she raise in her campaign against. Give me 1 second. I need to check something. Ocasio-Cortez raised Joe Crowley. I want to see what percentage of her money. How much is this? All right, here we go. We can figure this out together. This is the platform that launched Ocasio-Cortez, a 29-year-old Democratic socialist, to become the youngest woman ever elected to Congress. She's sworn in, right? Right. Speaking of Good Morning Joe, right? Come on, where is it? I'm trying to figure out how much he raised. Joe Crowley. Sorry, guys, I'm bad at doing two things at once. Give me 1 second. Alright. The upset making. Joe Crowley never saw defeat coming. Why can't I find the money that they raised? Open secrecy, right? Alright. So she raised $2 million. Whoa. That does look bad. Yeah, I guess that does look bad, right? I mean, so this is okay. So this is how I see this, and maybe I'm looking at this wrong, but this is how I see it. Ocasio-Cortez raised $2 million in a race, and spent $1,673,699 for the 2018 cycle against Joe Crowley. The charge is that 885,000 of the 2 million, almost half, was put into a company started by her campaign chief of staff. That's a lot of money. Like, if that money was spent within her campaign, would you know what the money was doing? Yes. The moment that the money is taken out of her campaign, and you're talking about nearly half of the money that the campaign had taken out and given to a private corporation or a private company started by the chief of staff. If this was a regular company, say for the moment that it wasn't the chief of staff that started those companies, is there still a problem here? I think the answer is yes. I mean, the chief of staff can talk with some strategic company or some company in order to imprint his vision upon the world, even if it's not within purely his domain. Meaning, if he didn't own Justice Democrats and they purchased a service and they say, okay, we're going to give you $885,000, there's still a problem. I mean, ultimately, the problem is we have no idea what the company is doing with the money. If we say, yes, we want things itemized, simultaneously we allow companies to not have those things itemized, then there's a problem. That's kind of the point. It doesn't matter if it's, he's owning both. The problem is the system that allows it in the first place. And don't get me wrong, I do see problems with this thing of him owning both, meaning him starting both companies and him running her campaign at the same time. It feels off to me, even though I can't put my finger on how it's materially different than if it was another company that wasn't under his command. I feel like I'm missing it, even though I feel like it's off. It feels wrong. What is the breakdown of sources? Where was the money spent? Well, that's kind of the thing, Crozette Owls. There was no way she did nothing wrong. It was the chief of staff. No, MacArthur, Louisiana. I agree with you. I'm not saying she did anything wrong at all. I'm saying her campaign. That's why I keep saying campaign, her campaign. Well, there's no way to know where the money is spent. It went into a private company. It's kind of like when the government is doing certain things and it doesn't want the public to know about it. It may work with a corporation because the public's scrutiny don't exceed into the corporations themselves. At the point where it's a private company, your ability to have any oversight over it diminishes, goes away. So I don't know. I'm saying it's the same thing. The moment that it's a corporation that's getting all of that money, you would imagine that if they're getting that much money, there is some delegation of service to the company itself. Meaning that company has to be doing something for the $800,000 that they received. And you ask the question, well, what are they doing? Because ultimately, that's half of what the campaign raised. But, strategic consulting. We don't know. It's unclear. It's opaque. That's kind of the issue people are having with it. Remember the video you did about Paula Jean only getting $16? So that's where all of the money was going. Yeah, I remember that video. God, I can't believe you remember that video. I didn't think anybody watched that video. Yes, yeah. Yeah, I mean, when you look at the thing, it's shocking when you see how the money was being spent. Donate to your own campaigns. Like, donate to human beings. That's kind of my point. If you want to know where the money is being spent, donate to the human beings themselves. If you think it's awesome, donate to her directly. I guess their issue here is, it goes opaque. But again, that's not their fault. That's not anything they did wrong, per se. That's something that is perfectly allowed. Or, as far as I can tell, it seems to be allowed. Come on. I've opened a Twitch account, by the way. I think I mentioned that once before. That should be a lot of fun. Like, I think I'm having the fundraisers are going to be on Twitch, and it's going to be this thing where people can gladiatorial combat. Game of Kings. Kills for a living. This is why the left always loses. They funnel the money, so what? She should drop a nude to distract us from this. Make sexism great again. 2020. She should drop a nude. They funnel money. I don't know. I don't think you realize this is not abnormal, if that makes sense. Like, it's legal. They're legal. And what does it mean to funnel money? Funnel money to who? For what purpose? Is there a material difference between them funneling money to companies that he owned versus funneling money to companies that he didn't own? Does that make sense? Like, what's the difference between those things? I guess you could say, well, they may be using the money for something else that they don't want the public to know about. But couldn't the same thing be true within the context of another company that he doesn't own, but he's directing? I don't know. It feels more gross to me. So don't misunderstand me. I'm not making the argument saying that it's okay. It just feels gross. Venn diagrams. Oh, that was the O one. Yeah, that's an O one. All right. Let's see. You said DNC promoted her. Yeah, I never said. Oh, you're talking about you're arguing with somebody else. Yeah, I don't think the DNC promoted AOC. In fact, I don't think they like her at all. I mean, they seem to try to put a knife in her at times. Didn't Justice Democrats kick out Cenk and Cal left because of nonsense? Yeah, that's true. Wasn't it the first sign that Justice Democrats isn't perfect? I don't think they were perfect. The thing about Justice Democrats, if you're looking at the individual candidates themselves, I don't think anything is wrong with many of these guys who are running in this case. Many of them are lefties. I don't have necessarily complaints. I think people's issue is with the connection with UIT, if I'm being honest. That seems to be the issue with Justice Democrats. But yeah, Cenk, somebody dredged up something that he said like 20 years ago. He leaves, Cal leaves in protest. That's where they at. Alright, I'm going to end this. If you guys enjoy the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe. You can always support through PayPal or Patreon. What time is it? Oh man, I gotta fight it out. Alright, I'm going to be back. I have multiple videos to do. I'm going to need those to keep me awake because I want to get a decent night's sleep. But yeah, I have a surprise when I hit 20,000. In fact, it may even be before I hit 20,000. Oh, and before I go, look at this. This is awesome. Despite everything else that's going on, the thing that people have been screaming about, bitching about, moaning about, crying about. The question that they want to know that none of them would ever touch. Right here. Where have all the haberdashers gone? That's what everybody wants to know. Where have all the haberdashers gone? These buttons are not at the bottom. There's a little moniker thing that says the Progressive Soapbox at the bottom. But Fred Edwards kept asking this question, where have all the haberdashers gone? And I love the phrase. And I was like, God, I got to get that on the shirt. And Monday, when I was doing all of the administrative work for the show, I went on and put in to get a t-shirt done for this. And this is what she came back with. So I like this. There's going to be a different emblem coming back in a few. I have somebody working on that too. But nevertheless, this is still going to be a moniker of sorts. So I love this. I love where have all the haberdashers gone? I love that. Absolutely love it. Yeah, my Wi-Fi is off today. I don't know what's going on. Alright, I'm going to end this because I need to see what's going on with the Wi-Fi. I'm not quite sure what's going on. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what's going on. Maybe time of day. But I will see you guys in a few, potentially. I need to figure out what's going on with this. Usually, the signal has been solid, particularly with this new laptop. So, alright guys, have a good one.